So in this segment, we're going to be covering a story it feels like we cover yearly at this point, which is the UK once again is allowing toxic chemicals to be used as pesticides when it comes to beet farming. So this is partially the Observer's view on the UK stance on sugar farming with my kind of analysis. And here we go again. Near the end of 2022, the Secretary of State for the Environment, Therese Coffey, committed the UK to halving the impact of damaging pesticides on the nation's wildlife and flora by the end of 2030. Considerable care will be needed if we are to protect nature, which is vital to our health, well-being, and survival from continued degradation. Limiting the ecological industry of pesticides is an encouraging move. See, the great thing is she won't be in office by then. There'll be at least 2 general elections by then, so she can make all the promises she wants for the future, but I'm more interested in the damage that's being done now, especially by her. So, unfortunately, Kofi's words have not been matched by action. Incredibly, the Department for Environmental, Food and Rural Affairs has decided to waive restrictions on the use of highly dangerous, powerful toxins and permit the release on crops. Neon, I can't pronounce that word, have been described as the Novichok of bees. A single teaspoon is sufficient to kill more than 1 billion, says scientists. So you're talking about essentially a genocide of bees here with this stuff. This is how dangerous these chemicals are. We have spoken about these toxins before. It feels like every year we do. They are nasty work, and the government are trying to protect this beet crop, sugar beet crop, at the detriment of other plants, and need the bees which all plants and flowers need. We need bees and other insects. It just does not make sense unless beet farming has really powerful lobbyists. Like, why do this year on year? It makes no sense otherwise. For this reason, the UK Expert Committee on Pesticides last week argued requests for these toxins to be used to protect beet crops against attack from aphids should be turned down. For the 3rd year in a row, this advice was promptly rejected, and their dispersal given the go-ahead by DEFRA. So I definitely remember covering this last year. I don't know if I covered it 2 years ago. Be interested to see if I did. So you have actual experts saying this is a bad idea, that this request to use the toxins should be rejected, yet DEFRA somehow know better. Therese Coffey somehow knows better than the experts. I am worried for the future of the UK's plant life, that's for sure, especially under this lot. Such sidestepping of expert advice contrasts starkly with the European Union, which has made it plain that because of their alarming toxicity, neonics, as these chemicals are known, have no role to play in modern agriculture. The EU has refused all requests to allow them to be sprayed on crops in Europe. EU model of prove this stuff isn't dangerous versus other models of it's safe until it isn't is, these are kind of the conflicting models that we have. Prove it's safe and we'll use it, or the American model, which is it's safe until it isn't. We've seen that before, and it plays out very, very dangerously. But these chemicals could decimate other plant life, and it looks like they last a while in the water and soil too. The half-life of these chemicals is quite long. With the trade and cooperation agreement, if the UK wanted to export these sugar beets or anything made with them, I wonder if the EU will draw issue with it, because I sure would, especially for EU sugar producers and beet growers. By using a class of chemical capable of pernicious impacts merely to protect sugar from aphid-borne disease, the government is endangering a host of other insect species, including bees and other pollinators that are crucial to flourishing of our crop and flowers. The dangers posed by such poison reservoirs are considerable, yet they are taken merely to protect sugar and beet supplies in the UK. So the government are risking so much here again. So ecosystems of plants and insects are pretty fragile, especially when chemicals are involved. We already know the bees are dying. You need pollinators for flowers and other plants. These chemicals can get into the waterways and cause damage to our waterways as well, further damaging our marine life and also the humans who might drink from the water. Vote Tory for human waste and dangerous chemicals in the water is one hell of an election line. So these things are incredibly dangerous. And sorry, I'm making anyone dizzy here by scrolling, but once again, the UK allowing it to happen. And it's just tragic. And these are the kind of stories that people don't really see a lot of, and won't see a lot of coverage of until they affect our waterways. That's when it happens. Until people start dying, or bees continue to die off, and other kind of side effects of these chemicals come to light. That's when people pay attention to this. I think in America, no one really understood how damaging the dumping of chemicals in the rivers were, until some of those rivers were set alight. Water being set on fire. It's just the most incredible thing to see, because it shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen. It goes against the rules of nature, I guess, in that sense. But it has happened, multiple times throughout history, and the fact that the UK, the ministers are so anti-science and are allowing chemicals that are so dangerous is absolutely terrifying. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Support the channel on Patreon if you can. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one.